Welcome back to the Pewtercast. This is the second half of our Final Thoughts show, and this is the one where we get to dive into your final thoughts. We've got some things that fans have sent in, and we're going to be going through those in today's episode and kind of bouncing off that. Always leads to some really great conversation. I am Brent Allen, your host. Ren Dax is back here with me. Hi, Ren. How's it going, buddy?
The show will now be known as the Horizontal Show.
You are laying down. Do you have cramps again? Are we getting cranky, Ren, or are we getting never been better, Ren?
I do say that a lot, don't I? No, it's
as well
been
too.
Better, Ren. As well too. I wanted to do that at the end of last show. I forgot. I was going to say something about it as well too. No, it's never been better, Ren. I just sometimes I get a little tired, so I'm just laying down. I'm taking advantage of my studio, which, wisely I put a bed in.
There you go.
So now I can do this. You can still see me.
I can very much can, and we can still hear you just fine. All right, well, guys, the way this works is we've got iTunes reviews that have been sent in. We have actually several of those, so thank you to everybody who has done that. We'll go through those in today's episode. And then we've got a handful of emails as well, people sending in their thoughts on the game and certain situations surrounding the Buccaneers. So, Ren, why don't we go ahead and jump right into it? Our first iTunes review comes to us from Jay Bucs. This is a 5-star review. Says, "Go Bucs." Says, "How you guys doing?"
Is that it?
Oh, he asked the question. I'll give you a chance to respond.
Crampy.
Never been better.
No, sorry. Wait, try. Okay.
How you guys doing?
I'm good, Brent.
Never been better.
All right.
He says, or she says, "I've been listening to your podcast for about 6 months now. I live in the Orlando area, and I think you guys do a fantastic job in your coverage of the team. You're my second favorite Bucs podcast. Keep up the good work, and go Bucs."
Well, it was 5 stars. Thank you.
I've heard a couple of people say, "You're my second favorite," and I'm like, okay, thank you. I'm glad to be in the list.
Yeah,
glad to be in the list.
So it's not like there's just 3 out there,
right?
Or two,
right?
Like there's so many, and I'm not saying, oh my god, there's so many, or flooding the market. It's just there's so many. So to be in the top 2, it's sort of like being an Olympian, I guess. Like silver medal is really pretty good.
Yeah,
when you have so many competitors.
We are grateful that you guys listen, and man, the listenership does keep growing. So thank you, Jay Bucs. We definitely appreciate it, and glad you've been listening.
Orlando.
Yeah. Do what now?
Hold it down, Orlando.
Hold it down, Orlando. There you go.
407 in the house. I don't know what any of that. I get a little goofy when I lay down. I've noticed.
You do. Yeah. All right. Next one comes from IB Blazin' for You.
All right. I wonder who he's talking
about. Says, "Awesome podcast," gives a 5-star rating. Says, "Hey guys, I love your podcast and I've been listening since last season. I am from Lynchburg, Virginia, and became a Bucs fan in 1997 when Rondé was drafted. I watched him at Virginia his whole career. I love the coverage y'all do for non-Floridians. It makes me feel like I'm in Florida with all the news that y'all give me. My only knock on the podcast is I don't get one every day. So keep up the great work, guys. It is very much appreciated."
That's the second time we've gotten that.
Was
it 5-star?
Yeah, it's 5-star. Yeah.
Okay. It penalized Star for not,
right.
not putting one every day. Well, I mean, as he probably knows by now, or she, we put out 4 a week.
Yeah.
And plus I do my Dax Stats YouTube show, which will be dropping tomorrow. So, I guess you could say it's 5 a week.
That's 5, and you and I actually just had a conversation this past weekend about a potential new show to start. Yeah. We're not ready to mail it yet. Let's not talk about it on the show.
Okay, what are you talking about?
The one when we were at the tailgate, we were talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one. So, anyway.
That will be fun.
That'd be fun if we can make it happen. So, right. we gotta figure out how all that works. But anyway, so let's see here. IB Blazin' for you. You and Big Bucks Mama, both of you kind of said the same thing, that you wanted more episodes every single day. So thank you for that. We are not fully credentialed media yet. We are trying to get to that spot, and we've actually got a couple things in the works for some things that we might get access to later this year. But we'll see what happens. We'll certainly keep getting them out. You guys keep listening. We'll keep producing them and putting them out there. And thank you for that.
Hey, did you talk to or get a message from the guy? I don't remember his name. The guy from the Chicago Bears podcast that had us on last year and this year.
Not yet, but I anticipate one probably coming up here in the next week.
I got one today talking about sort of early setting up because we play Chicago next week.
Sure.
And he wants us on and stuff.
I think he's mad at me where I ditched him the last time.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're unreliable now.
Right. Because I had a family.
Yeah. It was like PTA meeting or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he sort of threw out. He goes. I'm just throwing this out there, but if you want to have me on for your preview episode, and I went, we don't do preview episodes, and I sort of ran down the list, and I'm sure like that sounded stupid to him, so I ran down the list of shows we do a week, and he goes, wow, I thought I was being bold with doing 2 a week, and I just text back to him like, right? I'm like, it's like people keep downloading, man. It's like, so yeah. You'll listen to them, we'll make them.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. You said just a few minutes ago, there is a lot of Buccaneer podcasts out there, and there's a lot of the podcasts out there that do game preview shows. And, so it's a topic that is well covered in our Bucs podcasting community. We try to hit the topics and do things in a way that, is at least fresh or brings a fresh perspective to things, or we've just been doing it for so long that, if other people start doing it like us, that's fine too, but we're going to keep doing the way we do. So, we don't have a game preview show, but we get a little bit of game preview stuff. I think, it kind of slides into the conversation for sure. So,
and if I get, a wild hair up my butt, I might start doing like a little 10-minute game preview on YouTube.
There you go. Never know what could happen. Or maybe that game preview show is that one that we were referencing just a few minutes ago, but we aren't going to talk about that because we're not ready to talk about that yet. Anyway.
Nothing's changed the past 3.5 minutes.
The last 3.5 minutes have just been them listening to us talking about all the different types of shows that are out there. Anyway, thank you, Ivy Blazin, for you, and great to man. You and I became Bucs fans right about the same time. So
I find it interesting that he became a Buck fan because he's Rondé Barber, because he came from Virginia, Rondé and Tiki, and he was drafted, and that's why he became a Bucs fan, because obviously he's one of his favorite players. Mm-hmm. But still, Rondé's been retired at least 5 years, 6 years now, I think, because you have to wait 5 years before you get nominated for Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think he's probably going on 6 or 7. Hey, here's what I'd love to know. All our listeners out there, you guys are listening to this. If you became a fan of the Buccaneers because you had a favorite player in college get drafted or come to the Buccaneers, and you've been a Bucs fan since then, and especially if that player has since left the team, either by retiring or they got traded or went away to another team, but you've stayed a fan, I'd love to hear from you. Just out of curiosity, shoot us an email, thepewtercast@gmail.com. Would love to know your story. We always like hearing about how people become Buck fans. So I'm just curious as to who that is out there. So maybe we can get a poll to see if one particular player has brought the most number of fans into the fandom.
That's not going to happen.
Probably not. All right. One more iTunes review and we'll move on. This one comes to us from J. Hines 57, maker of ketchup and Heinz 57 sauce everywhere.
He's emailed us before, right?
He has, actually, and he actually sent us another email later. He says, he's actually also part of our Pewtercast Fantasy League. It says, go Bucs, 5 stars. He says, I love the pod. Great takes and analysis all the time. Keeps you interested and excited for the game each and every week. And then Harry says, awesome getting to play in fantasy against you guys as well. This is from Jordan in Kansas. Jordan, thank you so much. Glad to play against you. I don't recall off the top of my head which conference you're in, whether it's the BFC or the RFC.
How did you do last week, Brad?
I sucked in all my fantasy. I scored over like 105, 110, 115 points in all my leagues, but I still lost. So across the board. So how'd you do today, Red?
Co-host of the Pewtercast that's lost in fantasy football. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. So, all right.
I won. I won. I have I scored the most points this week. I don't think I scored the most points last week, but I have the most points scored after 2 games in the RFC.
I think I scored the most points last week. I'd have to go back and check. But anyway.
Whatever. You have a loss. You do have a loss. You cannot retweet. You cannot retweet. If your team is not undefeated, you can't retweet.
Anyway, if you guys would like to send us in.
Though.
Yeah,
good season.
If you guys would like to send us in an iTunes review, we would love to be able to read your review on a future episode. Doing so helps us gets the word out about the Pewtercast and lets people out there know where they can find us. You just go over to iTunes, search for us, drop us a rating, drop us a review, and when we see that come through, we'll read that. And by the way, if you listen to us on another platform other than iTunes, totally cool. You probably have an iTunes account. So go over to iTunes, leave us the review, and then just go back to listening to us the way you normally do. So with that, Ren, do what?
Why? Why would they do that?
Why would they do what?
Why would they go to iTunes to leave a review?
Well, because here's what happens. When you leave us a review, that affects all the different search engines that go out there, especially the ones within iTunes, which when people start searching for Buccaneers, it makes the Pewtercast, it rises us up to the top. And also it affects the Google searches as well. People start typing in Buccaneers podcast. The more ratings, the more reviews, especially positive ones that we have, the higher up we get in that search. So it just helps people find the Pewtercast and enjoy the content that we're putting out.
Huh, I did not know that.
So, and that's why, I say thank you all the time to people who leave us these reviews. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Now time for the people that are a little more winded than 280 characters that Twitter gives you. We got a couple emails to get through today, Ren. The first one comes to us from Christopher I'm not going to say this right, Encarnacion.
Okay.
Encarnacion. Anyway, says, Dear Brent and Ren, first of all, I love the show, guys. I live in Jacksonville after being raised in Tampa and listen to each episode you guys post and keep up with all the Bucs news, and great to hear from other passionate fans. Hey, Christopher, I also live in Jacksonville. Shoot me another email. We'll maybe see about getting aid. If you're in the Jacksonville area, Duval, St. Pete, or St. Augustine, this area up here, I wouldn't mind getting like a little meetup with some fellow Pewtercast people out there. Would love to get together with you guys.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is how every NFL team has their own hashtag? Like you put hashtag Go Bucs with a flag.
Right.
Jacksonville's is Duval. What is Duval?
Duval is the name of the county that we live in, and it's kind of it's a thing that like when they shout their name in the stadium, it's Duval, and they say it all over. It is and here's the thing: you ask any Jacksonvillian or whatever why they do it, they'll look at you. I don't know. We just do it. It's fun. Like that's their answer across the board. It's Duval. So that's their.
The whole? I know Jacksonville's pretty big. So is the whole city in the county?
Yes, the city has annexed the entire county, and then some. Like
I don't know what that means.
Basically, the city goes all the way out to the county line. Like how so you have Hillsborough County, which encompasses Tampa and a bunch of others. Imagine if Tampa just said we're going to take over everything out to the county line, and all of that becomes Tampa.
So that's why
that's what Jacksonville did. Yeah.
Because it is the city is actually the county.
Yeah, and actually Jacksonville went into some of the other counties and took some of their land as well too. So, or at least as I understand it, I'm still getting to know all that stuff. Anyway, you guys.
So is there a rift between non-Duval Jacksonvillians and non-Duval?
I don't know, man. I'm a transplant here. I'm not into that part of the culture up here. I will tell you the river basically cuts the city in half.
Right.
And the general rule is you stay on your side of the river.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're over here. You live, you work, you eat, you play. Everything is on your side of the river. And if I cross the bridge, it's just because I'm driving through. Generally speaking.
All
right. Back to this email. Christopher says, all of this quarterback controversy has me going, I don't think it's a thing. And he gives a couple little bullet points here. He says, I know it's preseason, but Jameis was amazing during the preseason. It's the protection that's allowing Fitz to hit all of these deep balls, I'm assuming he means. He's got more time than he knows what to do with. He scans the field, figures out who's one-on-one, and then throws it there. I hope that Jameis has just learned to feed the open guy or have a willingness to throw his guy open, because it can obviously be done. We just need to give our playmakers a shot. I'm telling you right now, I feel bad for the first time that Jameis overthrows Djax on a deep ball. All the naysayers will come out.
Yeah, a couple things here. One, every pass that Ryan Fitzpatrick has thrown to Deshaun Jackson has been completed. Every pass.
Mm-hmm.
So
which has been, 4 or 5, I think, in the 2 games?
No, it's over that.
Is it?
I mean, total. I don't want to say it's 19, but it's in the teens. So I think it's 17 for 17 or something.
Oh, wow.
Maybe that might be a little high. But anyway, and the only one that, if me looking back on it now, the only one that Mike Evans, because he was perfect to Mike Evans too, first game. And the only one that I remember from Sunday that he dropped and me watching the game again was the one that he dropped. Like, there's no one around him for 2 yards and he just dropped. So I see where he's getting at. Well, the first time Jameis Winston overthrows somebody, like, oh, here we go again. Accuracy issues and all that sort of stuff because of Fitzpatrick is so hot right now as a quarterback. But, once again, that could all change Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But what I think a lot of people do forget was his first bullet point was, even though how good Fitzpatrick looked in the preseason and how good he's done and how it's carried over to the season, Jameis looked even better with Todd Monken calling the plays with the same, and Jameis was throwing to behind a lesser line and throwing to lesser receivers. So it's not too far out of the realm to think that even though Fitzpatrick is like white hot, like Hall of Fame, Pro Bowl, All Pro hot as a quarterback right now, it's not out of the realm to think that James can come in and do the exact same thing.
Or
it's
better.
Really not.
Or better.
I don't know if you can do better. Like, I'm serious.
You're right, because you could get a perfect passer rating. Fitz has been just a few points shy of the perfect one. I mean, just a couple of points shy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It'd be hard to do better. It really would.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get what you're coming from. And we talked about it on the previous podcast with Pat Donovan, and I sort of fall in his camp. And I would also like to say, until we get there, a lot of things in sports sort of kind of work themselves out. Like, what are we going to do when this person comes back? Well, by the time they come back, the person we were worried about maybe sitting the bench got injured.
Right.
Or
a la Charles Sims, by the way.
Yeah,
we saw that in our own camp this year, right?
Yeah. It's just kind of the running back spot position just kind of worked itself out. We're like, oh my God, we got all these running backs. Who's going to make the team? And then by the fourth preseason game, the the only four standing. So it was like the linebacker core. Is Sitchy going to make it? Well, he has to because there's nobody else.
Right.
Like, you have to make the team, Jack Sitchy. There's no Bulla. There's no Bond. So that's what I'll say about all of that.
I agree. Christopher goes on. He says, I think that Jameis is going to start week 6, no matter what. I believe that is the week that we come back from the bye week that he's referring to there. He says, we need to figure out what we're doing here as a franchise. We need a larger sample size of this new Jameis. And the end of last year in the preseason has me wanting to see more. I'm right there with you, man. He says, we're going to have to figure out the contract deal moving forward, too. Will we give him a Bortles kind of deal, just a couple of years, or do we commit to him as a franchise and set the market like a Derek Carr deal, but adjusted with inflation? He won't or shouldn't get Aaron Rodgers type of money, though. No one should.
Sure. And I said this, Jesus, I think when we first started coming on the pod and sort of this narrative started to come up about, oh my God, in a few years we're going to have to sign Allie, Quan, Donovan, Jameis, Mike, and now it's here, and we signed Mike. And I've always said about Jameis Winston is not. First off, you should sign up for a long-term deal because by the time it's over, it looks like a bargain.
Right.
And if they get into cap trouble, Jameis Winston will be the first guy to say, hey, restructure my contract.
Sure.
Move my money around. I don't know if you have to give me more up front this year or put more on the back end or switch it to guaranteed money to this, whatever you have to do to make it work to free up money, including taking less for me to help us win. Like, Jameis is not going to be the reason why we can't sign people.
Right.
And that's I've been saying that for a few years, and I stick by it.
I 100% agree with you. As to whether or not Jameis starts week 6, I don't know. There's a really good argument to be made for that. Let him sit through that Chicago since it's a short week. Let him go into the bye week. He now has 2 weeks worth of practice, and then he, comes out blazing. Real good argument for that. There's also a real good argument that says go ahead and start him. That's probably the weakest of all the arguments, but I certainly understand that argument. And then there's the other one that just says, hey, as long as Fitzy's playing well and he's got the hot hand, go for it. The only thing that I caution the people who say play the hot hand and run with the hot hand is, remember, we're only seeing the hot hand once every 7 or so days. These guys are seeing the hot, if Fitzy gets in there and has a bunch of horrible practices in a row and Jameis is lighting it up, you kind of got to go with Jameis at that point, don't you?
Well, I mean, you'd feel better about it.
Sure.
It's, you don't have to, but you definitely feel better about it. And
right.
And here's my biggest argument for starting Jameis Chicago game. It's because he's been preparing for the Chicago Bears for 4 weeks.
Exactly. And that's a great point, Ren. That's a really great point. He hasn't worried about Philly and the Steelers and the Saints.
And the Saints, yeah. He's just been looking at, he was looking at last year's tape before week 1. Mm-hmm. Now he just totally breaks down week 1, breaks down week 2. He's going to break down. So he'll have, all he's done for a month is prepare for this Chicago game. So,
right.
And I totally get the hot hand thing too, but I just have a feeling it's going to work itself out. I really do. I just think.
So when Fitz gets hurt this week, we all blame Ren.
Sure, go ahead. I mean, if you want to. I mean, I'm not going to listen to you or care about it. But it's just going to work itself out. And if you say ride the hot hand until the wheels come off with Fitz, I don't trust Fitzpatrick being able to stay healthy for 17 weeks.
It's a point. It's a point.
I mean, he's not he's not injury prone, but he is 35 years old, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's like the Donovan Smith Wolverine healing powers. I don't know, but before we start going down this road about is it unfair for Winston to put him in against Chicago because their defense is so good on a short week, or just ride the hot hand, or Winston's preparing this for a month, put him in. It's just going to work itself out. That's, let's just, the answer will be obvious soon enough.
There you go. All right. He continues on, says that for people who are clamoring for the Bucs brass to cut or trade Jameis, just stop. How many quarterbacks with Jameis's type of ability are going to hit the market, either in free agency or through the draft? It doesn't happen often. And let's just move on to winning and shoring up the rest of our gaps. I have said this before, Ren. I will say it again. I'm ready to move past all of this, and I just want to get back to just talking about football. All this other stuff, whether it has to do with a lawsuit or, a suspension or this controversy or that controversy, or is there even a controversy and all this stuff. Man, I just want to get back. Let's talk about football, with Jameis under center, and let's move on. So,
two things with that. Yeah. It's, if you want Jameis to be cut or traded because you're mad at him for his off-field accusations or behavior or whatever you'd like to categorize it as, it's absolutely your right. But it's not going to happen. And if you're in the camp that we should trade or cut Jameis because, we can do better, Fitzpatrick is fine, or you don't think he's the future, then if you don't think Jameis Winston is the future of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and we could find somebody better, then you're just stupid. And I mean that in a real nice way. It's just it's not when you first read that statement, my first reaction was I'm not even gonna dignify that with an answer. But then as you were talking, I'm like, well, there's really kind of two sides to this. You got to think of the off-field issues as well. So yeah, if you're mad at Jameis because what he did off the field, okay, I understand it. He's not getting traded. If you think Jameis is a crappy quarterback and shouldn't be on the team, then you just don't know what you're talking about.
Right. All right. And Christopher closes up his email here. He says, I could go on and on about this, but if he doesn't pan out, I'll eat my words. You know what? So will I. But Jameis is the kind of guy that you can build a franchise around. Again, love the show. Thanks for everything you guys do. Been meaning to go onto Patreon and help out. So if you could reply with that link, that would be great. Hey, patreon.com/thePetercast. Tried to make it as easy as we could. So patreon.com/Petercast. Go over there. Find out all the things that you can do to be a part of helping the show out as we continue to grow and do new things. That new show that we were talking about or referencing earlier, Ren, was looking at it. It's about $400 to make that happen. So,
Is that a one-time?
Yes. And I don't know if there's any recurring fees. So we'll have to figure that out.
Okay.
But as we always say, podcasts are free to listen to, just not free to produce.
Actually, they are. Just not ours.
Right. There's... Yeah. He says, "Go Bucs, Chris."
That was actually a good email. But I mean, you could, if we were to call YouTube a podcasting platform, which a lot of people do. I know, we used to have a problem with it way back early on. That's not really podcasting, but I've gotten past that.
Sure.
If you want to lop it in, no big deal. It's all the same thing. That's free. And you could record something and throw up on SoundCloud for free, right?
You could, and then you could use, the headset microphone that comes with your phone if you got one of those, or the microphone that comes in your computer if you got one of those. And you could.
Besides paying for you said produce. You didn't say get started.
Oh, it's all part of it. Anyway. All right. Moving on. Our next email comes from our friend Jordan, who sent us the iTunes review. It says this is from Jordan in Kansas. What's up, guys? What a win that was. Fitzmagic McGregor is getting the Bucs a little national media hype heading into a primetime game with the Steelers. It's time to finally shine on the big stage and hopefully turn some more heads, showing people that we are the real deal and not just a hype train hitting some lucky bombs. And the big news is going to be, will Winston start, of course. I think win or lose the Pittsburgh game, you need to let Fitzy start against Chicago at least and bring Winston back after the bye week to give him a few extra practice reps with the ones. Can't wait to hear your thoughts, and as always, go Bucs. P.S. Can't wait to square off with Brent in the BFC. Well, there you go.
Found that out.
Yeah, there we go. Answered that question.
Was he the one you lost to this week?
No, I lost to somebody else, I think. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I'm not looking at it now.
I think Alan smoked you.
Oh, it was Alan. That's right. It was Alan this week. Which, by the way, shout out to Alan. Got to hang out with him at the game a little bit.
The tailgate.
Yeah. We kind of covered this whole idea.
Yeah. If you want an official stance for me, I'm in the camp of bring Winston back. No matter what happens in the Pittsburgh game, bring Winston back for the Chicago game because he's been preparing for 4 weeks and you give him the best chance to win.
I'm with you. I see the arguments for all of them. The riding the hot hand is probably my least favorite of all of them. And so if it's between bring him back in Chicago or let him wait till after Chicago, I am probably leaning towards bring him back for Chicago. But I see the arguments either way. So, and honestly, it's really one of those things. And I still believe this. Some people think that, they've already got their minds made up and all this. A lot of it is going to depend on what happens when Jameis gets back in the building. What's he look like? Like, how's he looking when he gets out on the field? You know what I mean? Like if I'm coach, I'm not making that decision right now until I see what's going on.
That's true. But there was a little interview and sounded like a video montage which Jameis is doing. The guy from Channel 13, O'Donnell, I believe it is. Kevin O'Donnell ran him down, and Jameis is doing 2-a-days 4 times a week.
I'd believe it. I wholeheartedly believe it.
We all knew it was going to happen. We knew he was leaving one Buck with a Leslie Knope type binder of what to do every single day. Like they had a plan for, they had receivers already set up for him who he was going to throw to. Like, it's not like they just kicked him out the door and go, okay, Jameis, you're on your own. We'll see you, at 12:01, Tuesday morning after the Pittsburgh game. because you know he's going to be there. Like James is going to be there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he will be there. He
Right.
might even be in the locker room if he's allowed to. Like
Yeah, I
once
don't
the game
know.
hit, like zeros, like that's the end of the game. He might be able to actually.
Can he get in the building at that point?
The whole
Does his key
NFL
card turn back on?
But as soon as that hit 000, the whole NFL week is over. So he could like after the game hit 000s. He could like walk in, like be in the parking lot and walk into the locker room. Maybe he has to wait till 12:01, but he's going to be there and he'll be ready.
You know, Ren, I was actually just trying to find that while you were talking, and I couldn't find it in a quick search. So I'd be interested to find out too. I don't know exactly when they can have that contact. I do know that there's been a couple reports that Jameis has texted with a couple of the players, and apparently that is okay as long as they're not talking about like football strategy and stuff. So,
right.
you know, but you're right. I mean, if Jameis is allowed to be in that locker room to congratulate the guys as they're coming off the field, you know he's going to do it.
I love how we're just assuming they're going to win.
Because they will.
Yeah, but no, it's just like, you know, if James is there, congratulate the guys. Yeah, like there's no thought in our head that like we're going to lose this game,
right?
Which is probably not a good idea.
Now, you know, here's a thing about this whole conversation that a lot of people aren't talking about. You know, Cutter came out with a plan during preseason, and this was a big topic of conversation then.
It was.
How are you going to get Jameis the reps that he needs to get ready for the season, and knowing that Fitzpatrick is going to have to start the first 3 games, get him the reps that he needs? And Cutter's like, well, we got a plan. We're going to split them up. And it wasn't Jameis just running with the 2s. Like Jameis and Fitz shared reps with the 1s, though Fitz got more reps with the 1s than Jameis did, but Jameis also had reps with the other units, and he wound up actually getting more reps than Fitz did, like total. Right? So the Buccaneers have been preparing for Jameis to come back and to come back as strong as he possibly can be. They devoted a lot of time in the preseason to getting Jameis ready for the season. So, you know, all accounts point to that. They're looking to get Jameis back, and they're putting Jameis back in the seat as soon as they can. At least that was the plan. And Fitz has come out and said, and, you know, it's kind of it's the good answer to give, but you know, so take that for what you will. But he said, listen, I'm just here keeping the seat warm. This is Jameis's team. He's repeatedly said that. You know, he's not out here looking to take over the team. He's not looking to become the new starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the next bunch of years and unseat Jameis. Like, that's not what he's trying to do. He fully understands what his role is here. And, you know, that role has been fairly well defined for him, even through the preseason. So, you know, that's why I'm with you, Ren. I'm leaning towards he comes back at Chicago, and he'll be ready. I just think he'll be ready. The idea that he's not going to be ready even on a short week, while I stay by what I said earlier of they've got to wait till he gets back and sees what he looks like. But I think all anticipation is he's going to be caught up. He's going to be ready to go. He's going to hit the ground running, and we'll see Jameis starting. And poor Ryan Griffin will be our new inactive every single week on that list. So
there we go. Another one I can nail. Yeah. I didn't do good last week. I think didn't you say Noah Spence?
I said Noah Spence last week. Yeah.
Good job on that.
Yeah. It as you looked at everything, it was just the one that made the most sense. So, and we'll talk about that whole Noah Spence situation, I think, on our Buck in the News show coming out later on this week.
Oh, for sure.
All right. Final email of tonight, Ren, comes from Rodrigo. And Rodrigo, I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce your name wrong because I don't roll my R's and I just can't. Guerrera. He says, hi, guys. My name is Rodrigo. I almost started trying to do that in a Spanish accent, and I'm going to not. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not trying to offend anybody.
You do have, like, that's just a natural reaction. And it's not just Spanish. Like, you will try, like, what? Yeah, I don't know.
Like a Jamaican accent or whatever, and it's all the same for me,
or Australian. Yeah, and
I'm horrible at them.
The same, and they're all the same. It's like
was that Jamaican, Australian, or Scottish?
Yeah, it was.
That was my Chinese accent, actually.
Yeah, that was actually my East German.
So sorry, Rodrigo. I'm not trying to offend anybody. He says, "Hi, my name is Rodrigo, and I'm from Uruguay."
All right.
Which was real interesting. I actually just noticed on our stat list, you know, it kind of tells us where everybody's from. Like, someone who is downloading us in Uruguay? Because it's like, you know.
That's a good, yeah.
You know. Yeah, and I'm nice to meet you, Rodrigo. You answered a question that I had in my mind earlier this week.
That's a fun map to look at. Like,
it is.
we get like, okay, here's a little breakdown if you can visualize it. Basically, it's just like a little in our Libsyn,
yeah.
Libsyn, when you go into the stats,
Which, by the way, you should use that instead of SoundCloud. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and that's why, and that's $20 a month, and it's not free. That's why it's not free to produce. It's really a great service. But one of the things they offer, like under their stats, is a world map, and when you roll like your mouse or your pointer over each part, it'll tell you how many downloads you're getting from there. And I just find it like places like Crete,
right.
Kuwait. It's just fun to sort of roll through there and see like where people are listening from. Of course, like Russia we get, China we get, but like just small, itty bitty, tiny countries that are barely a dot on the world map, and you accidentally roll over it. It's like, 4 downloads. Like who is listening to us?
Right.
In Sicily. I know it's not a country, but leave me alone.
So
anyway,
Rodrigo from Uruguay, he says, I'm a huge Bucs fan since 1999. Rodrigo, we're going to ask you the same question that we ask everybody when they talk to us. How did you become a Bucs fan? What happened in 1999? That's right around the time that I became a fan, which was 98. So, that certainly is the Ren, what do we call it? The Silver Age?
The Silver Age.
The Silver Age of Buccaneers football, because we're all still in
the Golden Age, but it will become the Silver Age.
There you go. But how did you get hooked up with him? Anyway, he says here, it is difficult to keep track of the team in Uruguay, where football isn't even football. This is a soccer country. So for us, football, it's American football. And it's difficult to watch the games live. Normally, I have to watch the game through NFL Red Zone, and it's just not the same. Your podcast is a great way to keep me posted in the details of the team. I can normally count on Buccaneers.com and NFL.com, but your angle is always great. I love this Bucs 2018 team. I'm just thrilled with this offense, and I think that in the NFL of 2018, it's better to have a good offense than a good defense. So I think we're going the right way. Let's talk about that, Ren. What do you think? In the NFL today, what is more valuable, a good offense or a good defense?
If you had to pick, if you had an outstanding defense or an outstanding offense,
and a mediocre other thing, or mediocre to poor other thing,
right. I would say I would go. I agree. I agree with Rodrigo. I would say offense. I mean, just look at the past Super Bowl. Both of them were just shootouts. Scored in the high 30s, and the last one was in the 40s. So, and the Eagles had a really good defense last year, and the Patriots put up like 38 on them or something like that, 37, something. I really don't know. Maybe it was 32, but there wasn't a defensive struggle. So yeah, I think that's it. It's these days of where these high-powered like teams, and I'm not making fun of Saints or Saints fans, but when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback and you're putting up like 35 points a game, averaging it, and you're going 7-9, if you're your defenses can't be that bad. But I think in nowadays, when you get into the playoffs, you got to be able to score points, because what the other team is.
Yeah.
And if I had my choice, I would say, I would rather have like a top 5. If I was building a Super Bowl team and I had to go, you can only have one top 5. Is it offense or defense? I'd pick offense every time.
Sure. I'm with you.
The rules are just skewed
skewed towards the offensive guys. That's a very good point there. He says, I don't think that we have a quarterback controversy. This is Winston's team, and he will be our starting quarterback when he's back. But that doesn't mean that that'll be in week 4, because it'll be a short week. I think for the right moment for Winston is after the bye week. A lot of people do, and there's a great argument for that. But I think Brendan and I are just at least leaning towards the other direction of bringing him back right away. He says, I really don't have a question. Just wanted to let you know that you have a listener so far in the South. I've given you 5 stars on iTunes. Keep this thing going. Rodrigo from Uruguay. Am I even saying that right?
Uruguay?
Is that how you say it?
I think so. Yeah, okay. It sounds pretty spot on.
Cool. Well, thanks, Rodrigo. Appreciate that.
It's definitely Uruguay. It's not Uruguay.
Right.
Or is it Uruguay? No, it's Uruguay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Rodrigo,
you're right.
send us a pronunciation guide for your country, man. I'd love to know how you pronounce it.
Yeah, don't do that. Brent, just Google it.
I don't know how he pronounces it. Anyway. All right, Ren.
But what's he gonna send you a voicemail? I mean,
No, you can like a dictionary pronunciation guide. Anyway, that's it for all of our emails. That's it for all our emails. That's it for all of our iTunes reviews and everything that we have there. So thanks to everybody who participated, submitted your thoughts. This is kind of one of the more fun episodes, Ren. We sort of let the listeners take us where they want us to go in the conversations that get bounced off because of that. So, Ren, as we head out of here tonight, I just want to remind everybody we have our Buck in the News show coming out. It comes out really late on Fridays, early Saturday mornings, where we get to tackle all the news and gossip and all the things that have come out of One Buccaneer Place or the Advent Health Training Facility over the course of the week. Everything's done by the time we do our show. All the headlines are done. It's just a matter of playing the game.
Injury reports are out.
Yeah. We'll take a look at the injury report. Take a look heading towards the Steelers game. Although we'll have to check on this. Make sure that it's not a Saturday thing with it being the week shifted with the Monday night game. So we may have a shift this week just because of that. But other than that, you guys make sure you check us out for that. Oh, yeah. And with that, Ren, why don't you tell the people out there where they can find you on the internet?
The best place to find me is on Twitter, at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football as well, too.
Everybody take a drink. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me as well, too, at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias, or you can find the show at The Pewtercast on Twitter, at facebook.com/The Pewtercast. Or if you're a little more long-winded than the 200 and some odd characters that Twitter gives you, shoot us an email like many of the fine folks did tonight to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We would love to read those on an upcoming episode of The Pewtercast. And by the way, like we said earlier in the show, if you want to become a part of supporting the show, and you can do that over at patreon.com/The Pewtercast. You'll find out all the great things, like you can get a Pewtercast gear pack. You can get stickers. We have like monthly hangouts. We've got exclusive content that goes out. You can even join us for a game in the club seats. So lots of different ways that you guys can get involved with the show, helping to give back and, just helping the show continue to grow. Well, Ren, until we are back next time, we'll sign off as always. Go Bucs!